end of the day, they're still gonna be looking out for themselves. Um, and
most
I just
definitely.
wonder if that would be enough to be the black majority, be in the authority position, but still knowing that, um, they're gonna be working for themselves. I mean,
Oh yeah, well, yeah, they're going to work with themselves, but if Black Americans, if we control everything within those states, the only way they can move up is that they have to align themselves with us,
hmm
and then as their that's why the population, okay, as their population grows, right, then they can they become more powerful. But we have to check their population. We have to make sure that we're always the majority of the population within the state. If we dealing with the African diaspora, the Asians or Hispanics or white, we always have to be a super majority. And to me, super majority is at least 66%. Now, I remember now it could be 60%, 60% for voters, but when it comes to the population, I say 66% or 67% or 66.666, wherever you want to put it.
yeah. So that's interesting. So what I would say to that is so the power within state, county, local government is going to really depend on the voters, people coming out to vote, right? So, and
Correct.
within the legislator, especially, you're going to want, and I know what you're talking about with that 67% majority, because depending on if they have that whole idea of a super majority, which you could change to just a simple majority. Um,
Yeah.
but I think it also, as you're stating, would be really important to have that in the legislator as well. So that may or may not be a direct function of the population. I think it's more about who actually votes, because even today we have primaries where 20 to maybe 40% show up, but that's very rare. It's more like 30%. And then in the general election, it's 50 to maybe 60, 70% that actually show up. And it really has to be a unique candidate, a unique situation to motivate people to come out to vote. Um, Ironically, Biden did get a lot of votes, and it seems like he got the anti-Trump vote in that last election. Um, but I thought Obama had the largest margin. It turns out there were actually much bigger margins in the past. Even though he had a 10 million vote margin the first time out.
Right. Look, see, that's why. Look, like, okay, how do we guarantee, or what? How do we give people incentive to vote?
Mm,
Right? They have to be some type of benefit that they get for voting.
mm,
And I see in other countries, like if you are part of this political party, right? You get you get the first when your political party wins and they can control the government, then you have the I can't think of the word. You have the advantage of when it comes to business loans,
mm.
housing loans, getting access to land, getting access to education.
Wow.
You know, people that are in the political party, they just have better access to benefits, government benefits than people that are not in the political party. and I don't think it has to do anything with corruption. I think it can. I think it can be some type of legal, because to me the Democrats and the Republican, they do it all the time.
Hmm, that is interesting.
You know, people Republicans in the state of Texas, they have more, especially the white, they have more advantages, more benefits than people that are in the Democrat Party. Look at Mississippi.
Hmm.
You know, so and I don't think it has anything corruption or illegal or criminal about that. I think that's just the way it works.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I don't know. I can't be for or against. I got like more neutral in that sense. I understand
Right.
why it would be somewhat of an incentive. I think if you made voting easier, where you had the day off to vote, maybe move it to the weekend, which would be hard to do in national elections, but um, and even making it a paid holiday, to be perfectly honest, because most people couldn't afford to just take the day off, but making it a paid holiday so that people can go out and vote. Um, can't pay people to vote, but um,
Yeah. Now paying people, that's totally different. But like, if you're a member of the political party, right? That means your family has access to university education, housing loan, government jobs, business loans. You just have more access. You have more advantage than a person that's not in that political party. I mean, when I read about this is a long time ago. I'm trying to remember. Like in China, you want to be part of the Chinese Communist Party,
mm,
because when you are in that Communist Party, man, you get
mm,
all kinds of benefits. Matter of fact, you want to be rich, you have to be part of the Chinese Communist Party. If you want to run for public office, if you want to go to the best university, if you uh, if you want a job in a government agency, or get these what do they call them, the grants, the research grants at different wherever, you have to be part of the Communist Party to get those benefits. And in a Black American political party, if you're a member of that political party, you get all kinds of benefits, and that should be the incentive for you to want to vote even during the off year. You want to, every time there's something that they're voting for, you're going to be in those meetings, because it you know it benefits you to be in those little meetings that they have. Those little city council meetings, those little school board meetings. You want to be there because it benefits you to be there.
yeah, man, I definitely heard that. Oh man, I wanted to get to DC Scotty was in the room. He had asked a
Go ahead.
question last time, but it looks like he stepped out. You mentioned you mentioned Mississippi. I kind of wanted to talk about how they had they the federal government put up $600 million to repair the infrastructure instead of giving it to the state, which is what they've been doing over and over and over again. The state been diverting funds. They're giving it to the EPA and some other special department. I'm gonna try to find it so I can post it up there. But this is like, and it's funny because I think I mentioned that in the last space that funds that are intended for Black American descendants should go directly to Black American descendants and or an agent of our choosing within these state governments. It should not be going to these governors that have historically diverted the funds away from our communities, away from our people. And so this is a this would be a great test case and would be a great precedent, but I know that they have no intentions of making this the standard. Um, but it just shows how corrupt the state of Mississippi is in the hands of the opposition when it comes to simply doing the right thing with the funds.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, but
And
DC.
look, you know,
Mhm.
any state constitution will have that. You know, the governor, and the state legislature, they control uh, all revenue, all state budgets within the state. I mean, and of course, I don't think you want to change that. You know, because once we become the authority within the state, all of a sudden they're gonna change where okay the state budgets that come from the federal, the federal money that come to the state, it won't come through our hands. It will go directly to some other group. That's not fair. I mean, whoever that's in power should be in control of the funds. So that should give us incentive that want to, like, hey, if we want these funds, then we have to take control of the state. I mean, it just has to. It's like a winner take all, and
Mhm.
I like the winner take all system, because that gives you the incentive to want to uh, take power, be in control, all that good stuff.
Okay, so I understand that because essentially what happens is if you set up because everybody wants this Freedmen's Bureau thing set up, and I guess they want offices everywhere black people are in large numbers. And what you're
Right,
essentially saying is if you set up a bureaucracy like that, you will have these field offices where in which there's some improvement. However, you still don't have any actual power and or authority, and so you would still just be it would be incrementalism that wouldn't be comprehensive change to uplift Black America completely. It would just serve essentially one function.
right. Yeah, the Freeman Bureau, right? So is that I mean, is that a state level or a federal government agency?
Yeah, it was originally created under the War Department of the federal government, and they were under
Right.
occupation. They did have branches in the north, I do believe, um, and those were the savings branches, whatever. But the entire establishment of the Freedmen's Bureau, Refugees, Abandoned Lands was under the federal government.
Okay. So when they want to duplicate this to today's standard,
Hmm. Yes.
and it's still a federal agency. Hmm.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to
basically.
figure out how it would work on the state level. I'm just trying to figure.
Well, basically, like there's two agencies that I think of: Social Security Administration, and I've actually heard someone kind of compare their idea to that, and then I think of the Indian Bureau's whatever affairs, which I think is kind of similar. But in both cases, well, definitely in the Indian cases, they've been stealing money from those people from day one, and they will continue to steal money from those people. And much like you, I think what you're inferring is you can't really trust the federal government, and I don't because they play this duopoly game back and forth. And just like in Mississippi, I put up in there how they got five or no, they got six representatives. One of them's a Democrat. He voted for this money, but only one of the Republicans out of the five Republicans voted for it. The other four voted against it. So even in a situation that is very dire, very desperate, I just posted pictures where people are saying we don't know how we're going to eat or cook or wash, anything, how we're going to wash ourselves. They're getting water out of, I want to say it was a like one of those water buffaloes, but the water was not clear. It had a yellowish tint to it. They're filling up like like a some type of tote, but even the tote wasn't clear. It was like that opaque totes that you see that are kind of white, but the water in you could see even through the whiteness that the water, it was probably much browner than it was because the whiteness of the tote was probably lightening the color of it. And even in this condition, you have these four Republicans voting against them getting these funds. Um, so yeah, if you create a federal agency, you get a couple of opposition administrations and majorities, they could just defund the shit or move the money around or do whatever they want with it. And if they
That's
ever
correct.
yeah, and if ever they declare war, which is when the power just goes through the roof, they could just totally end it.
And look at this, right? Let's say a Republican president, he has the right to appoint somebody to this federal agency, this
Mm,
the Freedmen's Bureau.
mm,
So he's going to put who he want to, it's going to be a Republican agenda
mm,
in the Freeman Bureau. So, so what is saying? This Freeman Bureau, is it going to be uh, a, uh, a a a bureau where black people are always in charge of this federal? Cause then now you changing the Constitution. I don't know, man. It's going to be really interesting. I don't know how it's going to work.
yeah, and you know what? Just because when people have said that, I've been in spaces with them, and I just like listen. And I don't, because some of these spaces, it just ain't worth getting into these huge conflicting conversations because they got the power of the mute button. They don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear any opposition. And what you're stating is just facts. Like this is just not. This is not anything but factual information that you would have to understand going in. If you can't maintain a majority in the federal government, then you can't control the destiny of even that. Because, as you stated, more than likely there would be someone who they would head up that department. And
Mm-hmm.
it's unlikely that they would guarantee that it would be a Freeman descendant. Um, I'm trying to think of how the Indian borough situation worked. I know they just started getting some type of representation in Congress. Um, so I don't believe that they even control that. So the problem is, unfortunately, and this is just one of those things where people have really good ideas. They sound really, really good until they're scrutinized at the level that they need to be scrutinized at. You need to scrutinize no matter whatever I say, whatever anyone says, you need to scrutinize it to fully understand, what the limits are and how it will survive challenges because everything's going to be challenged forever till the end of time. Everything is going to be challenged. And so you got to be able to explain how you'll get over those obstacles. And it's not just about, oh, we'll scream and holler and we'll do it. No, 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 no. That
Right.
doesn't. That's not going to change
Right.
anything.
Look. Now this is fair. I don't like talking about this, but I'm just throwing. Sometimes you just gotta throw a idea or throw out a what can happen, right? Good example, like let's say let's say the state, the federal, the Congress, right? Let's say they do pass the reparation law.
Mm.
Okay. So the Congress, they voted, unanimous. I can't even pronounce the word, but they they decided, they want to pass the reparation laws, but then the opposition, they're going to say, okay, you know what, we're gonna call a convention of the states.
Mm.
And now, and it can go through the we call it the Supreme Court, but a lot of people don't know that the convention of the state is actually the most powerful, or the last, what's the word? It's the last, um man. Sometimes I can't think, man. It's the last lever
Mm.
when it comes to changing the U.S. Constitution. So you know how you need 3/4 of the states
Mm-hmm.
to ratify, an amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
So I think some oppositions will say, "Hey, we want to take this to the conventions of the state," and then the 50 states have to vote on should the 50 states ratify the Constitution to pay reparation to Black Americans. I mean, that can happen.
Yeah, you're
I try to
almost. Go ahead.
yeah I tried to explain that to Mr. Oh my gosh, what is his name? The Duke University professor,
Oh yeah.
economic professor. I can't think of his name right now.
Darity.
Sandy Doherty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sandy. Yeah, and he think it's possible, but I think he said he don't think it will go that far.
Hmm.
And I told him, I don't have no faith in the federal government. If they refuse to pass reparation laws on the federal level, then Plan B is state level. Matter of fact, I think you mentioned that in one of your tweets about restitution on the state level. I think you mentioned something like that.
Right, right, right. So, DJ says this really well. Two check system. It's probably like a five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10 check system because you got the federal government who is the big pig, let's say, in the
Hmm.
room, and then you got the states, and then underneath that you got all these different organizations, institutions. You have foreign governments, you have individuals and families who all profited and who inherited wealth and who have been, profiting still.
Right.
I posted something about the Senate bill that allowed the person who was the slaver to own any inventions that our ancestors produced. And that's in black and white. So there were the rumors that the what was it, the Eli Whitney cotton gin was created by our ancestors. I think Paul Mooney, he's got a lot of really good jokes. I think he might have been the one who had the joke about that. But there may have been a big layer of truth in that, in as much as they took the time to craft legislation to ensure that whatever we created they would own, and not only that, that their children, if their children weren't old enough, this is how I say it's demonic. It's very thorough. We can agree it's very thorough planning, but it's at the level of um committing genocide against the people, because what they said was, in the event that a child who was going to inherit another human being was not old enough to essentially deal with the affairs, that they would put the invention in a trust until that child became old enough to then take ownership over the invention of another human being. Now this ideology shows up in corporate America, where in which if you work for a company and you invent something while you work for the company has ownership over that thing. Um,
Yes.
there was a big case where the Bratz doll guy, the guy who created Bratz doll, separated from the company. I think it was Mattel or whoever makes Barbie, and he put that Bratz doll on the market, and then eventually Mattel went after him, saying, "Well, you basically created this doll while you were working for a company." And I'm pretty sure it was a white guy, from what I remember. I'd have to really look into that story, but I believe he actually won that case. Let me see if I can pull it up while we're talking about it, because that when I think about how you if you created an invention, you work for a company, that's the one case that comes to mind. Yeah, Bratz versus Barbie. Tirade of a trade secret. It says Mattel won the first trial in 2008. Mattel, they awarded Mattel $100 million. On a retrial, they decided the case in favor of the Bratz doll. Then the judge reversed the 100 million and awarded the Bratz doll people 85 million. They say both sides have spent over $100 million in legal fees. So that's one of those situations where, yeah, initially they upheld this idea that corporate ownership over intellectual property, and again, they now who amongst us who has an invention would have $100 million in attorney fees? And this was in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, 2000. What did I say? 2008. So if you had an idea and they took you to court, likely they're going to win. Likely you're not going to be able to file, redress, and so you're basically going to walk away the first time. You probably will settle, more than likely, because ain't no attorney's going to want to take the case, and so you end up losing, just because the system is set up in such a way that you really can't fight it without enormous amounts of money to fight.
Right.
And even when they won, they lost. They still lost $15 million in the fight, even though they got to keep ownership.
Or the corporation just can buy your whole company, or
Mm.
you buy your whole idea and say, hey, okay, we'll give you 500,000 or $100,000 for your idea, and then once you sell it, then you don't have no you lose everything. You lose all your right to that to your invention. I mean, they show this on what's that TV show with the oh my gosh, I just saw it a couple of weeks ago. about these rich business people. They buying other people or helping people start their own businesses. What's the name? Shark Tank.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And in Shark Tank, like a person has an idea, and they say, "Hey, we want to buy your whole company. We don't want 10%. We don't want 50%.
Mm-hmm.
We want to buy your whole company."
That's very rare, but I know
And
what you're saying. Yeah.
the person end up selling his whole company, the whole company, because he doesn't have the money to to keep the company going. So most of the time, people will sell.
Yeah, and even so, that is very that's sort of a rare case, especially on Shark Tank. You normally they don't outright try to buy people out. There must have been something about their personality from because I watched that show for a few years. It's been a while since I watched it, but typically they don't think the person they don't believe in they believe in the idea on that show. They don't believe in the person. That's usually when they're trying to
Correct.
squeeze the person out.
Correct.
Um, when you said that, it reminded me of the Super Soaker guy. Now, this is a black man who originally sold this idea to one of these companies, and then he basically discovered that. So in 1996, he's supposed to be getting 2% royalties, and then 1%. It says 2% for three-dimensional products, 1% for two-dimensional visual representations. Um, Now it turns out that they were cheating him, I guess, even out of that. Um, it says Super Circular have approached sales of nearly $1 billion. He was able to come back. This is as through arbitration, but he was able to come back, and then I think they paid him. Let me get the number: $73 million settlement. Um, this looks like it was from '96 to 2000. So
Hey,
like
Black,
10,
I hear a
10.
little echo.
Yeah, that's the other phone. So so like over a decade, a little over a decade, he was able to go back and get, the money that they either owed him or should have paid him, or whatever the case may be. But that's again, those it's rare. It's rare to even do that the way the system is set up. You know what I'm saying? He had an arbitration clause in his contract that probably made it easier because he didn't have to sue them with, he didn't have to take hundreds of millions of dollars, which he probably didn't have to sue these people.
Right.
um Again, that's just these are there's so much built into the system that we can directly connect to that particular Senate bill in the late 1800s, to be perfectly honest, especially I mean when it comes to us and things we create and invent and etc. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Look, in the Philippines, right? Okay, you heard of Marcos, right? Fernando Marcos.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. There's this family called the Lopez family, right? The Lopez family, they started the electricity company and electricity utility company
Mm,
in the Philippines in the early 1900s, right? And they became super rich,
mm,
very powerful people. However, when Fernando Marcos became the uh, the dictator of the Philippines in 1971, right? Uh, he got rid of the Philippine Constitution.
mm,
Uh, he got rid of the legislature. He got rid of the Supreme Court, right?
mm.
And another thing he did was he took the utility electricity company from this Lopez family,
Wow, nationalized.
and he gave that company to you know the people that that supported him. And then the Lopez family, they had to leave the country.
Exile.
Okay, in 1986, right, during they had the ETSA revolution, right? They kicked Fernando Marcos out of the country,
Mm,
so he had to leave the country. He gave up his dictatorship.
mm,
A new president came in power, and then the Lopez family came back to the Philippines, and that president gave that electricity company back to the Lopez family.
mm.
So in many different countries, right? You got the government that has the absolute power,
Mm.
but at least in America, you have all these different
Layers.
institutions, and America has strong. That's one thing I do love about America, that they have all these different institutions, and it's a federalist system. You got a federal government, you got the state government. You know, you have all these different countermeasures, and we call it uh, uh, a balance of power, and you have all those things in America, but in a lot of country, man, the federal government or the president has all the power.
Mm.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is most countries are not set up like the United States is set up.
Yeah, so that's crazy. Part of the conversations that I was having, the one person who was the anarchist was talking about stateless nations, mutual aid societies, and it's like it's like intellectualism where you're kind of you can go down this road on the internet, but yeah, you're living in a country where you have the internet, you have electricity that's dependable, plumbing, water. Even though in Jackson and Flint and even where I live, we have more lead in the water where I live, even though it comes out clear, um, than they had in Flint. And I live in like a major city for the most part. So we got infrastructure, transportation, roads, bridges. Yeah, things do collapse here and there, but we had a bridge collapse last winter. Oh no, no, it wasn't even last winter. It was sometime in the fall. They have completely replaced that span. It wasn't a huge bridge, but it was an
Right.
important artery in the city, and they got that thing up very, 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 very fast. So as slow as in those layers you were talking about, the different layers, different authorities, sometimes that makes things slow down. It doesn't happen as quickly as some of us would like, but that actually
Right.
is beneficial because
Absolutely.
be, yeah, yeah, because you understand why that can be beneficial for things not to change overnight. Sometimes it's better to have slower change. Um, in a lot of different areas, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, I mean, there's ways that we can fix it. There's ways that we can absolutely improve Black America's position and Black America's condition. It's not that the system is inherently flawed. It's that the people who control the system are flawed. And that's the thing that so I had another guy who was talking about sovereignty and reservations and essentially wanting to move everybody to a reservation, which I don't know why this keeps coming up. When I first wrote the book and I went to DC, I had a guy there who was talking about, oh, we're gonna become a tribe and join our tribe. And it's like, bro, come on, man. Ain't nobody joining no fucking tribes, B. Like, nobody joining no tribes, man. Come on, man. Like, have you taken
I
the
mean, to
time?
me, a tribe is powerless.
They have no
No power,
power.
dude.
They have no power. They have no fucking power. I mean, not only that, they're living like third world nations. Why would we want to do that? Like, why does that make sense to people? Because and this guy, I give him credit. He understands we do need statehood. He's on the right path, but his idea of statehood is becoming a tribal nation, like And he kept talking about Seminoles in Florida because they have a monopoly on the casinos in the state of Florida. So for a tribe that has 4 or 5 thousand people and they got a fucking gambling monopoly in one state, it looks good, but it's 4 or 5 thousand people. It's not 40 million people. It doesn't transfer, you know. And they're essentially operating as a corporation down there anyway. They're not even operating like a real fucking tribe. The way that I would envision a tribe actually conducting government business, they're essentially a corporation. And they may lose that monopoly because the internet gambling sites want in. They want in. They're actually in court because they don't believe that whatever agreement they signed included digital gambling because it wasn't a thing at the time. And they may lose that part um, of the business, and it may actually chip away at their business if these other competitors can move in. The state has the authority. The state's making agreements. On top of that, this is why sometimes these conversations are valuable, even if they take up the better part of 2 days. When you look into it, you
Right.
realize, and when I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, I did, because I did a whole thing about casinos before in a thread, and this reminded me they have something called I want to say it's contract, compact, some agreement where instead of calling it taxes, it is taxes, but instead of calling taxes, they call it something else. And essentially, the state gets a guaranteed fee. So instead of it being a percentage of the receipts, it's a guaranteed amount. Um,
Okay.
and in the state of Florida, they're getting like 6 billion a year guaranteed out of these casinos down there, like 500 million a month. Which is a good amount of money, but the state budget is like 100 plus billion, and they probably get something else out of the federal government. So it's in comparison to all the money that Florida is generating, it's a fraction of it. But for 4,000, 5,000 people, um, they're doing well for themselves as a tribe, but it just doesn't transfer over to operating the daily business of a state, county, and even like a major city, to be honest. So a lot of people just they really and it's unfortunate, but in their mind are thinking, oh, they're making all this money with these casinos. If we just get our hands on these casinos, but then you got to think about it. You're living in a what they call white degenerate society, and very rarely, and I'm gonna be real because I've had brick and mortar businesses in white communities. It's not like they're rushing to spend their money in black businesses. They're not. And you got to deal with a whole bunch of extra BS to cater to that crowd. To be honest, I've had them post fucking false bad reviews because I was competing with some business that they had, whatever the case may be. Um, and then they're telling each other in the neighborhood, "Oh, don't go there because it's owned by a black guy. Oh, there's a black guy that owns that place." If it comes up, oh yeah, black fella owns that place, and they don't even got to say anything negative. That's all they got to say. Oh yeah, black guy. Heard a black guy owns that place, and that's just the code word for don't fucking spend your money there. Like,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying? So
Right. Yeah.
it's like sometimes we got to take this thing with a grain of salt and with an ounce of reality and understand who these people are, and that let's say for instance we had a bunch of casinos somewhere in one state somewhere. Okay, what does that mean? Are these people going to are they going to spend billions of dollars knowing that is generating all this income for our community? I just don't I don't know if they would spend the same way they spend with other people. Is where I'm going with that, because you look at the Mexican restaurants, you look at the Asian restaurants, they go in there, they spend a hell of a lot of money with those people. To be honest, that is their customer base. Mexican restaurants, Asian restaurants, white people are who they're targeting in those businesses. If we open up a restaurant of soul food or whatever you want to call it, Southern cuisine, are they going to come in and spend money in our restaurants at the same level consistently? My
Yeah, that's the
experience,
problem.
yeah, yeah, yeah. My experience says it's a 50-50. Some will, some won't. Yeah, but to the topic of the space, Heartbreak Day. That is the very sad one. Um, the watch night was the more hopeful one, and it was much closer to it was during the Civil War times, and much closer to Reconstruction. Um, watch night was a holiday. Hard to call it a holiday. More of a recognition of the anticipation for emancipation. Um, so our ancestors were collecting themselves together in anticipation of emancipation. That's essentially what Watch Night is. I do want to actually go into the story and read a little bit about it, but that's the summary of what it was, and all the emotions that surround that. The Heartbreak Day is much more unfortunate because it's really about separating families and the way in which they would sell family members off, and
And it's always at the end of the year.
it must be based on the end of the year, the end of the season, harvest season, whatever the case is. Maybe it was a
Yeah, I think
fiscal
it has
thing.
something to do with taxes.
Exactly, fiscal. That's exactly where I was going, as a fiscal thing. So yeah, taxes could play a part into it. Um, I mean, we already know how corporations end of the year, they try to pad their books in some way, shape, or form.
Or
Um,
gains or losses. If you have losses, right, then
hmm
you can deduct that. You know your losses. So if you have losses, you can sell your slaves. So to try to minimize
Tax burden.
your tax your tax burden. And
hmm
yeah, I can see. Now I never thought about that. Slaves being sold at the end of the year. I never thought about that until now. Well, that's definitely a lot of people, when like the stocks are down right now, right? The stock market's down. Your Tesla stocks, you're losing money.
Mm.
And so you want to write off your losses, right? You sell your Tesla stock
Mm.
before December 31st,
Mm.
and then January
Mm.
next year you buy back your Tesla stock.
Wow. That
That's what they
is
do.
that sounds criminal. I mean, I get it. It's a loophole. It's in the tax code. But what I'm envisioning now is, and I didn't even make this connection, but it sounds like the federal government, through this tax law, provided an incentive for this atrocity to occur. That whether intentional
I
or
totally
unintentional.
agree. I totally agree, man.
Yeah, yeah. That is
And I
crazy.
never thought about this, man. I'm telling you, until now, because I never thought of, you know, uh, you know, uh, the slave being sold at the end of the year. I never even thought about that.
Mm.
But that's the reason. My understanding how the taxes work, yeah, that is the best reason to sell your slaves, man. When and then you can buy them back. And this is what you do.
Mm.
They probably like, okay, one slave owner, he's buying some other slave owner's slave, and then that slave owner buying his slaves.
Hmm.
And so so they just swapping slaves, but they can use that as a tax write off.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna quote tweet that post that the lady did, and then it's up to you guys in terms of hopeful first or this other thing, which is really hard. I mean, she calls it a pain and hardship, and I mean, she is right on the button with that. I couldn't even imagine that.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna do more research on that. How to, what's the parallels between that and how corporations, how they do their taxes. I'm gonna look further into that because that is really interesting. I never thought about that, man. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, very, 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 very unfortunate. So yeah, let's go with the hopeful part first, the very least. Because I think we all need something hopeful here. Um, man, it's so sometimes it just hits you. You find out some new depressing information, and it just hits you in a weird way. Not ready for it. The realization of it. Um, So yeah, it says the historical legacy of Watch Night, and this is in a black church. Man, we really, this Delaware initiative is really gonna spend some time in these black churches. I'm gonna be honest with you. If nowhere else, I'll probably be in a different black church a couple times a month because we really, in my opinion, we just got to get this part focused, refocused, re-engineered. Um, yeah. So this is a Frederick Douglass quote on December 31st, 1862. It is a day for poetry and song, a new song. These cloudless skies, this balmy air, this brilliant sunshine are in harmony with the glorious morning of liberty about to dawn up on us. And then there's a picture of a church scene, and the quote is, "Day Lord, take care of the colored folk." This is Grafton, New York. Um, so it says on the night of December  31st, enslaved and free African Americans gathered, many in secret, to ring in the new year and await news that the Emancipation Proclamation had taken effect. Just a few months earlier, on September 22nd, 1862, President Abraham Lincoln issued the executive order, declared enslaved people in rebelling Confederate states legally free. However, the decree would not take effect until the clock struck midnight at the start of the new year. So here is another time where, dear God, it's September, right? And so why would you not do that? This is a whole nother thing. Again, we're talking about the mind state of these people because this is the harvest season, right? I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it. This is the harvest season. You didn't want to give 4 million human beings freedom before the harvest season. Goodness gracious. Like, whew, the occasion known as Watch Night or Freedom's Eve marks, I'm going to just say, black Americans across the country watched and waited for the news of freedom. Today, Watch Night is an annual New Year's Eve tradition that includes the memory of slavery and freedom, reflections on faith, and celebration of community and strength. Watch Night is service is rooted in Black American religious traditions. During the first Watch Night, many enslaved Black Americans gathered to pray, worship, sing, and dance. Um, White enslavers feared that religion, which was often used to quell slave resistance, could incite the exact opposite if practiced without observance. They wrote laws that restricted worship in large gatherings, such as that in the 1848 Georgia Slave Code. And there is a quote for that. No person of color shall be allowed to preach, to extort, or join in any religious exercise with any persons of color, either free or slave, there being more than 7 persons of color present. Wow. They didn't want more than 7 black people worshiping together at the same time. Man, 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 man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm just scanning through it, trying to, get through it here. They're just basically talking about how church, church and celebrations. It's a picture of a collard greens pot, stock pot. It's in the museum. Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture. Black eyed peas. Okay, here goes the traditionally hoppin' John consists of black eyed peas, rice, red peppers, and salt pork, and it is believed to bring good fortune to those who eat it. I remember growing up. Um, my stepfather was a was raised on a farm, and he was. I know he had southern roots. I won't. There's no way for me to know that, to be honest, as a stepfather. But I guess one day I'd have the chance to look into it. But yeah, I remember every New Year's Eve it was take the gun outside, shoot a couple shots in the air, and then they would have these type of meals. Growing up, I ate ham hocks. To this day ham hocks of I haven't eaten pork since I was like 13 or 14, but I remember bacon was good. Sausage, actually, I love sausage more than bacon. Um, Fried pork chops, really good, and ham hocks in lima beans with some ketchup in it, black eyed peas, collard greens with the ham hocks in that. Now I get it with smoked turkey. Actually, it's really good like that. But those were the things. I never ate ham though. Ham when I was a kid, so crazy. Kids have crazy imagination. But when I was a kid, I thought ham because it looked like white people. I literally thought that people were eating white people. Like I literally thought that that's what was going on. And so I was always like, I'm not eating that. As a kid, I'm not eating that. I'm not eating ham. Um, but yeah, that the stepfather I had growing up was a good man, veteran, but had a what's the word? Didn't like me. Let me just put it that way. Didn't like me at all because I was the oldest son and I wasn't his. And he had a drill sergeant type of attitude about life and about kids in general. Well, at least about me. But he did provide and all of that. And at the end of the day, as when you become an adult, have kids, take care of families, multiple families, you realize that you know um, it's hard. It's hard work to take care of a family, and understanding what he was. I mean, today I could look back on it, understanding what he was dealing with in society. That it's just not hard. It's never been hard. It's just never been hard ever for black men in this country. Um, and being a veteran, he was a disabled veteran on top of that. So it wasn't like he went out and was working, had a career because of his disabilities or whatever. And yeah, man, just an interesting time to think back on years past, New Year's Eve, years past as a kid, especially. Some of the worst winters growing up. I can remember horrible fucking winters as a kid, walking in snow up to your knees. Um, they didn't cancel school back then. If you made it to school, you stayed in school all day. They never canceled school when I was a kid, and I had to walk like 2 miles to school back then. Um, yeah, just goodness gracious stuff that we wouldn't do today to our kids. Thank God. Um, and now that I'm thinking about it, prayers for all those the families in Buffalo who had that horrible storm, lost a lot of people. Um, they just keep getting hit with major tragedies up there. Um, but we have the solution. We promote this and advocate for this solution of moving to specific states, Delaware and northern southern region, Maryland even, and then all the states south of South Carolina, except Florida, um, to kind of prevent being snowed in like that at the very least, if nothing else, and gaining political authority so we can change some of these atrocities. I went to see a movie called Devotion, which is about a black fighter pilot, Jesse Brown. It's actually based on a true story. And he, like my stepfather, fought in the Korean War. And but my stepfather wasn't a pilot. I'm pretty sure he was like in the army, infantry type situation, combat. Um, but this was a really good story. It was a really well done story. The actors, really phenomenal actor in that movie, and it covers the racism. It covers family life. It covers his devoutness to his wife. They had a small daughter at the time in the movie, that time period, and just him dealing with being a black man in that time period, just profound. I mean, just absolutely profound. The level of professionalism and courage and the ability to compartmentalize everything. And I'm not gonna give away too much of the movie, but this is actually the part where I was like, wow, I was really like just wow. He had a journal, which they say many successful people have journals, but his journal was a hate journal that he said in the movie he would write down every horrible thing, evil thing that white people had said to him since he was a kid, and he kept this journal. And there's parts of the movie where that plays an important part in the movie. But man, that was just like holy shit. He's got this basic. Because I thought every time I would see him holding, I thought it was a little Bible. It kind of looks like a little Bible. But when he explains what it actually was, it's just like damn. I mean, I'm emotional in movies. I love movies. I'm a big movie person, and I love the fact that there's like a blockbuster movie that's out almost, if not monthly, sometimes twice a month. I wish there was a new movie out every week because I tend to go to the movies just about every weekend. But this was a really good movie.
Hey, sorry, but like my phone just froze on me, man. But I'm back.
Yeah, that's cool. I saw you having connection, and I resent you the co-host. In case you would make it back in here. I've seen people popping in and out, so you know how Twitter sucks. They popping, kicking people out the room. Same shit. Um, Social, we're supposed to have this live video conferencing, which will basically be like Zoom on the social app, and up to six speakers, and I think hundreds of audience people, and there's a live chat so people can type comments. They don't have to come up to speak or whatever. So I'm actually really looking forward to that, because that to me is a game changer for social, and it'll give people the opportunity to conduct events and conversations on social. Um, the app keeps growing. There's a lot of participation over there. I haven't had a single report of any negativity over there. And once you get a few thousand, 10,000, you're gonna get some of that. But we'll just quickly cancel their profiles, get them out of there, stuff like that. So we're not going to tolerate stuff that I tolerate on Twitter. Is just not going to be over there, because it's not for that. It's not for trolls and angry people taking out their anger on other people or any of that. It's really about information, Black American centered information, and just trying to build. Just really trying to build. So yeah.
Hey, so hey, Black. So what time? Let me see. It's 11:20 a.m. here. So it's
Mm. Wow,
what
11:20.
10:20
You know
over
what?
there.
Yeah, that's right. Because once we had our daylight savings time or whatever, we're no longer locked in 12 hours apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks. Yep, 10:20 p.m. Um, I'll probably start hearing fireworks and gunshots soon enough. I
Yeah.
know, if like the house that I have, the house that I had bought 20 plus years ago, that's that neighborhood has become more and more predominantly black over that time period. And of course, what happens, like we talk about, black people move in, white people move out. So it's been that transferring of people that I grew up around in the inner city, because this is like a township that's just outside the city. It's physically connected to the city, but it's just a little outside the city, and it's become increasingly more and more black people moving in. So you over there, you gonna hear gunshots. There's no question about it. Um, so I hope people stay safe. They always say stay inside. Especially around midnight, stay indoors. Don't go outside driving around at all over here. But where I'm at now, it's probably gonna be more fireworks than anything.
Wow.
Shit, but I'm just fighting. Yeah, last week they had me come in on. Well, I was scheduled to work Christmas. They had me come in Christmas Eve, so I ended up working 6 days and 68 hours. I was trying to get to 70, which is like the most you can do, but I had an issue with my truck, so I ended up leaving a couple hours before I hit the maximum. But um, little tired because it's been a few months since I've done that. Um, you know, when this bar
Yeah.
opens up, I'll be working 7 days a week, so it's just something I got to kind of figure out. Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. Don't be up late nights. Because I get off at typically 2:33, and then I come home, and then I'm probably up for another hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, and I gotta cut that out. I gotta just like come home, maybe eat something, drink something, and then wind down, get into bed. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. But you're still over there living like a basically retired life, right? for the most
Yeah,
part.
yeah, but see, this the thing is, I spend most of my time, watching my portfolio, man, because I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm going to lose everything, man.
Damn.
This is what people really don't realize about when people got a little bit of money. Man, you can lose it all. That's my biggest fear. I'm going to lose everything. So I spend 8-10 hours a day doing research on how to keep my money because man, I don't want to work no more. you know so yeah, it's very it's scary, man. You can lose your money anytime. You can lose your wealth, your asset is just so easy to lose. So
Mm.
yeah. So it's hard. So even though I'm retired, man, I'm still doing something every single day.
Yeah, that's good. That's the old more money, more problems, and that's a part of it. Um, a lot of
Yeah.
people think they get money, and then the money just makes money. That's not really how it works. Um, got to be careful. Got to be careful, of
Yeah.
course.
I mean, stocks are going down, Tesla's going down, Google going down, crypto going down, inflation. I mean, you're just losing money everywhere. The peso's losing value, so I'm losing money because most of my asset is in pesos. So when the dollar getting stronger, I'm losing wealth that way. So there's so many different ways to lose money.
Mm, yeah,
So yeah, yeah,
yeah. I mean, I can only say try to, do your best, hang in there. Um,
yeah.
I don't know if you can, if there's like an industry that you could park some money into as an investment where it's like not just um stocks and bonds or whatever, but it's more like you know um a need
Well,
or a want in the society over there. I think your mic is muted.
okay, hello, yeah, yeah. Look, I know that I'm in a bear cycle right now, and I just have to wait when the bull cycle comes back, and it will come back, and once the bull cycle comes back, I'll be back in the block. So yeah, so you know, I'm not really stressing. I just know I have to be. I just have to wait and be patient.
Right, right, right. Patience is the key. The one guy who I work with, he actually was really active on Twitter and YouTube, whatever. But it's ironic how small of a world, small of a planet it is. You run into people like, oh my god, this person, and then it's like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But he was talking about he's been day trading for I guess a couple years, and I guess he said somewhere like he's like into the third. He's coming to the third year, which according to him is like the year that you get really really good at it, good enough to where you could live off of it or something like that, or you don't have to work. So
Hmm.
um yeah, he's like, I got the three screens, and it's like boom 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 boom. And as much as I love, and I do love doing this research, I love flipping through Twitter and responding notifications and back and forth. But like you say, you are spending 8 hours a day just watching, stock reports and
Yeah, that's correct.
yeah. So
I'm just looking. Yeah, I'm just monitoring everything, man. Just yeah. Now this guy, you said day trader. He must be a young person, right? What
mm,
I noticed, like my son, right? He's in his early 20s. He want to be a day trader,
hmm
and to me, being a day trader very difficult because man, you have to spend 8-10 hours, monitoring your positions, and to me, that's very difficult. Now, if I do trading, I'm more like a swing trader where I buy something and then maybe I might sell it if it goes up in a week or a month or 3 months or 6 months. I rather be a swing trader than a day trader.
okay, so I got you. The day traders are trading at much higher volumes, much more quickly.
Well, not really high volume, but they selling things more quickly. Like a day trader, they gonna sell every day. Like they let's say they buy. He might be using a trading bot, right? So he might buy. You know, let's say um, usually during a day session, right? The market might be at its lowest around 3 a.m.
Mm,
Right, so your trading bot buys at 3 a.m.
wow,
and then it peaks at, let's
trading bot.
say, at noon, and your bot sells at noon. So that's a 9 hour period. So you might do something every 9 hours. Depending on the trading bot.
Now, this is interesting because someone sent me something about something called Aladdin, which is a computer
Hmm.
that I guess does that. Um, and
That sounds like an AI. That sounds like an artificial intelligence type of machine.
that's what it is.
Now look, they got these machines, man, that are better than trading bots.
Hmm
Where these artificial intelligence can actually pinpoint
Mm,
in the minutes of a stock, or what's the other one? Forex going up and down. I mean, those things are really accurate. I
mm.
haven't used one yet, but I mean, you can try it, and it's called Aladdin.
Yeah, Aladdin. I want to say I want to say in that post he was saying BlackRock owns that thing, but he was talking about it generates
Oh,
trillions of dollars.
right.
Yeah. Let me see.
Now,
Go ahead.
there's some of these institutions like BlackRock, man. They will charge you an arm and a leg to use it, because usually they have these different I don't know what you call it, these different systems that they will sell you, but they will charge you a lot of money to use it.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was right on the BlackRock.com website. Um,
Right.
Aladdin Enterprise, and I don't know. It looks like they. So this is weird. This is I don't understand it, but maybe it has its own stock price. It looks like it sits at 14 million USD.
That's 14 million. That's not the
Oh,
volume.
that's
That's
the
the
market cap. Oh, this
Oh,
is
the
actually,
market cap.
yeah, this thing I'm looking at now is a digital coin. So that's something different.
Now, BlackRock is getting into crypto as well.
Yes, is okay. Aladdin provides traders with a global platform that is fast, scalable, and intuitive for virtually any instrument. With accurate shared data, you can potentially work smarter, faster, and confidently while handling bigger volumes with fewer errors. Aladdin can help you. So it does sound like what you were saying. It's some type of AI that you can that traders can use. I didn't realize that. I thought it was like for their own benefit.
No, I mean, yeah, it's you got trading, trading bots been around for a long time, but now you got the AI machines, man. Those supposed to be a lot more accurate than trading bots. So, you know, um, I can see, I can probably, deal with an AI machine in the next year. If they're very accurate, like people are saying, man, I might try to use one of those because it's very hard as a person, as an individual person, to just look at, monitor, different stocks and forex all day, all by yourself. Sometimes I ask my wife to help me, but she's bored after 1 hour.
Yeah, I would probably be bored too. I think about the Will Smith movie, and I know that was based on a true story. I'm a DM you this thing, this article, but they say Aladdin means asset, liability, debt, and derivative investment network. The AI is so powerful that in the last 10 years, it has quietly created the world's largest ever company, gobbling up every asset class across every industry. Aladdin now controls $21 trillion of our global economy.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy.
And and look, and what gets me the fact that BlackRock, look, anything that has like a BlackRock or Fidelity or what's another company, JP Morgan or these top five companies, if it has their name on it, man, I would try it. BlackRock, Fidelity, JP Morgan. There's two more. I just can't think of the names right now. But yeah, Goldman Sachs, and there's one more. I can't think of the name.
I want to say they mentioned Merrill Lynch in here somewhere.
Merrill Lynch. Yeah, Merrill Lynch might be in your top seven.
Yeah, that's what they say. Larry bought the asset management arm of Merrill Lynch. So the gift for Aladdin's 18th birthday was all the data points for the entire stock market. So they built this on, I guess, Merrill Lynch's information or something like that. So this thing's been around since they say it turned 11 in 1999. So it's been around since the 80s, 88 roughly. This artificial intelligence thing has just been in the background learning and growing, and it just can't be fair. Like this is what really I don't, as I'm looking into this, don't really kind of understand. Why would humanity allow, oh, it says as a result today, over 70% of all trades on the US stock exchange are decided by Aladdin or some derivative of this AI. Why would they allow that for this thing to have a monopoly?
How long has it been? How long it been around?
It's saying it's 32 years old in 2020. It was 21 years old, and let me see, because they're for whatever reason they're acting like this thing is living. 21 years old in 2008, and 11 years old in 1999. So that sounds like 1988 to me is when it initially, you know, was put into service or whatever. Yeah, here it goes. In 1988, Fink founded BlackRock. This guy Larry Fink, which was astounding when you realize how quickly they have grown into the world's largest asset management company with over 9 trillion in assets. Bada, 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 bada. So somehow this Aladdin says this AI directs the axis of the U.S. Federal Reserve, almost every major bank and investment fund on Wall Street, and over 17,000 traders. It controls half of all ETFs, 17% of the bond market, 10% of the global stock market. Carries out 250,000 trades every single day, along with billions of forecasts every week. This thing is embedded into this. This thing is the system. I don't understand how it's owned by a private firm and how it generates money for itself. But I guess they're saying when he bought, or when this Larry Fink created BlackRock, Aladdin was created at the same time, and it's just been learning and growing ever since.
Hey, Black, this is what I remember. Let's say in November of this year, right? When I think when the Feds raised interest rates, right, 75 points, right, and then Powell, he said something that was kind of negative, right,
Mm.
and all of a sudden the whole market it just went down, right? People started selling, right? See, you have these bots, right? And when they sometimes
Oh God.
what I'm trying to say here, sometimes when
Oh God.
something goes negative or
That's what's going on.
like
This motherfucker
certain
lit.
words are used, right? It would tell it will program the bot to sell. And then and then you have all these institutions using the same bot. So that's why a market can go down 10% because you got everybody, all
Mm.
the institutions using the same bot. And but the retail investors, I'm a retail investor. I don't have a bot,
Mm.
so I don't sell. So that's why retail investors always lose money because the institutions are using either software or bots. Now they're using AI, so they're getting more and more powerful every it's like every 5 to 10 years.
Is there? Can you follow one of the like? So, for instance, I don't know if this Aladdin has a stock or whatever portfolio. Can you follow that? Say like, okay, when they move, I'm gonna move. Essentially.
Yeah, you can't, right? But look, see, this is the reason why I went into crypto because, like you said, the stock market, the derivatives and forex, right? They are all controlled by institutions,
Mm.
but crypto is not controlled by institutions yet. Maybe in the next 5 years, but right now, that's why I think crypto is the best thing
Wild Wild
for
West.
retail investors, for people that never been to the stock market before. It's good to get into crypto right now because I think you only got 2 or 3 more years.
Mm.
After that, it's going to be totally controlled by BlackRock, Fidelity. J.P. Morgan, Golden Sachs, all those institutions are going to control crypto, I say, in the next 5 years.
So I agree with you because I agree. I mean, I until I got this information, I didn't think it was these private companies. I'm just thinking these governments, well, central banks, which is a private company, but that they were
Right.
essentially going to squeeze this stuff out or take control of it. But this is what they're saying here: the Great Reset, technocratic reign of terror. Don't expect the government to protect you. In his infinite wisdom, Joe Biden appointed BlackRock executive Brian Deese as head of the National Economic Council, which basically means oversight of Aladdin and BlackRock is now the responsibility of BlackRock. Uncle Joe hasn't stopped there. He also appointed BlackRock Chief of Staff Adewale Adeyemo, sounds like African, to be Assistant Secretary of the Treasury. This means BlackRock is now the Treasury as well as the Treasury Advisor. Holy crap.
Yeah. Hey,
Whew.
BlackRock, they are the biggest investment institution in the world. A lot of governments, right? Governments, companies, right? They are dependent on BlackRock to, monitor their portfolio. I mean, BlackRock. I think they monitoring at least trillions of dollars in assets. So yeah, they're very big.
Yeah, I think it said 9 trillion in assets. And I don't know when the story. This story might be from this might be a year or two old. This story, yeah, it said 9 trillion in assets, but it said that Aladdin controls $21 trillion of our global economy. To put that in perspective, that's more than the 20 trillion GDP of the US or the 15 trillion GDP of the entire European Union.
Right. And the whole world is $85 trillion.
Mm.
America is usually like 25% of the world GDP.
This makes you say, what the what the is going on, right? Because this is like central bank on steroids.
Uh-huh.
And see, it's so weird because when I heard BlackRock, I heard like in my mind, I thought they were talking about mercenaries, contractors in Afghanistan and different places around the world, like Halliburton or whatever.
Right.
um, so I just didn't really have an idea that they are so embedded into this global system of capitalism, regardless of what their political ideology is. I mean, every country operates on capital, to be honest.
Right.
Um, that is crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, insane.
But yeah, man. Yeah. It's weird. The more you learn, the scarier it gets.
Very scary. Because all I'm thinking about is, what if they don't want you to be here anymore? That's all I can think about. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Yeah. I think the Philippines, right? A lot of their government asset is managed by J.P. Morgan. So you have a lot of third world countries, right? They're dependent on like J.P. Morgan, BlackRock, Fidelity, uh, yeah, man, Golden Sachs, yeah, Goldman. I'm sorry, Goldman Sachs, yeah, yeah.
Now, is that to so there's so you have banks that hold the money for
Right,
transactions, right?
Right. Right.
So are these foreign countries investing to try to increase their
Correct.
income?
That's correct. Yeah,
Wow.
they're investing
Wow.
their government revenues so they can have money in the future.
That's so risky. Why would
So
people
they
do that?
can build infrastructure in the future.
Wow.
Oh yeah, that's how they do it. Yeah.
And so like that just blows my mind because I'm thinking why would a country put their financial resources at risk like that? Has this been
Well,
paying off?
I say yes. Look. This is the thing about America. America's lucky, man. The U.S. government, they can print their own money. Now, look, a lot of country, they can print money. The Philippines, they can print their own money. But the problem is, right? They're gonna have major inflation. That's why the pesos at almost 60 pesos to a dollar
Mm.
because they're also printing money. But every time they print money, their money lose value to the dollar. See, America, they can print as much dollars they want to, but other countries can't print as much money as they want to. It's totally different.
Mm. Yeah, that's crazy.
If you understand what I'm trying to say, I mean, I don't know about, but yeah, man. I mean,
Yeah, no,
country, yeah,
I understand exactly what you're saying.
yeah,
I mean, I get it fully. If you're in a situation where you're not the United States, you're not China, um,
right,
you're dealing with what you're dealing with, and this seems to be what they come up with. Because I'm thinking about, I think it's Miami, the city in Miami, where the guy was putting all their money into like some type of crypto. I don't know what crypto coin it was, but I remember that recently, and then it probably was Bitcoin because when it went down, um, they had a major problem because of it. And then not only
right.
that, there was a country in South America. Um, I want to say it was like,
El Salvador,
was it El
Salvador.
Salvador? Yeah, that's the one that was like everything's crypto, no more cash or whatever, that type of thing.
Yep, that's El Salvador. Yep.
Yeah.
They were giving every citizen like I forget, maybe $300 or something like that. They gave every citizen $300 worth of Bitcoin.
Now, how do you? Because this was my thing. Like I said, back when I looked at it, in 2017
Uh
or
huh.
2000, it could have been 2000. Matter of fact, it probably was 2006. Let me think about it. I had the accident in 2015 when all that activity was going on. Yeah. That probably was 2015. Because, like I said,
Right.
what I remember, the price was around $300, 350, whatever. But what I the service I needed costed like $20. So I was just like, this don't make
Right.
sense for me to invest $300 into something I only need $20 for. But how do you separate a Bitcoin that what is the value at 20,000 into $300
Okay.
increments? Do you print cash and say this is
No,
Bitcoin
okay.
money?
Okay. Bitcoin, right? Okay, a whole Bitcoin is one Bitcoin, right? But it can be divided into a million Satoshi.
Oh, Satoshi?
Satoshi is like pennies.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So if let's say you wanted to let's say see you didn't have to buy a whole Bitcoin to have $20 worth of Satoshi. You could have like let's say back in those days you probably needed 50 Satoshi to have $20.
Okay.
So instead of buying a whole Bitcoin, you just buy 50 Satoshis, and then
Oh
you
wow.
use that $20 to buy what you needed to buy.
Yeah, I know that wasn't explained. that wasn't that was not. I don't think. I mean, I'm sure the people that knew, but that wasn't. They wasn't explaining it like that because that would have made more sense. I would have
Yeah.
probably got the bug if I would have did it back then like that. Wow.
Oh yeah, man. You can have a half a Bitcoin, a quarter, a 10%, 1% of a Bitcoin, 100ths of 1% of a Bitcoin.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I pulled El Salvador up. This is back in October. They said they lost 60 million. They spent 375 million. Little to show so far.
Know why? Because they bought Bitcoin at its peak.
Hmm.
So the best thing for them to do is don't sell it, just keep it. Wait for the bull cycle to come up, which should be around 2025,
Okay.
and they should be back in the black.
So when do you expect that to happen? Like a year from now, 2 years, 5 years?
Okay. Well, see, 2023 should be around the bottom. We should be at the bottom of the crypto market. It might take another few months, but this should be the bottom pretty soon. And then June, I think that's when the Fed start pivoting. Uh, lowering interest rate, and then maybe start even what do you call it, doing QE again.
Okay.
When they start printing money,
Right.
believe me, that's when crypto gonna start going back up again.
They're
That's
saying
what I'm
about
waiting for. I'm waiting for them to start printing money again. That's what I'm waiting for.
yeah, I'm looking over the numbers. So they're saying only 20% of businesses take Bitcoin. 86% of businesses have never made a sale in Bitcoin. 70% of the people don't use it at all. 76 out of 100 don't accept Bitcoin payments.
Yeah.
It's just not being. It hasn't been widely adopted. So they're still using. Now, is this the country that uses U.S. currency down there?
See, I think they use their own pesos. I'm not 100% sure, but I think they had the Al Salvadorian peso.
Oh wow. There's a
But
what's
look,
the
see,
country that
look,
uses
see.
there's a country that uses US currency down there. I thought it was I don't know why I thought it was
Oh,
them.
I think that's not, is that Panama or Belize? It might be Belize.
Let me see. I'm gonna pull up their currency and see what they're talking about.
I think it's either Panama or Belize or Costa Rica. That might be another one. Because those three countries, Panama, Belize, and Costa Rica, they have a lot of American retirees living in their country.
Yeah, so they use the dollar, Bitcoin, but you're right. The Salvadorian peso or cologne. It says the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
dollar is El Salvador's legal currency used regularly. There's man,
Yeah.
I got to look at the map because there's one of them. It's one of the ones I was like, because we all, well, I ain't gonna say we all, but some of us have thought about, hey, what happens if I have to leave this country? And I was thinking going south where it's warm. I never was going to go across the Atlantic Ocean, but I was thinking, man, I'll go down, find a country down here. Ecuador, is that what you said? Yeah, that's the one.
I said Costa Rica,
Ecuador, that's the one.
Belize, Panama. Um, hey, actually, Ecuador is it. I consider that that's a cool country.
Yeah,
I'll try Ecuador.
yeah, they use U.S. currency. And that's the reason why I was looking at them. That is their main and really only currency.
Right.
Um, It said this came about in the year 2000 when their own currency, the sucre, took a nosedive due to a financial crisis. So since 2000, they've been on the US dollar.
Right. Look, see, this is what they do. A lot of countries, right? Okay, when they say legalize, they are legalized American dollars. That means that companies, stores, whatever, they can use the dollar for transactions. See,
Wait,
a lot of countries, you can trade in dollars in the local currency, but these people don't use it as everyday like buying groceries. They don't use dollars to buy groceries.
oh, interesting.
Yeah. But if a country say, okay, the dollar is legal in that country, now they're using dollars as a way of buying goods and services.
Right. So, like in
Like
Ecuador,
here in the Philippines, right? I can bring dollars to the Philippines, but I have to go to a money changer to change it back to pesos.
interesting.
Because there's no stores. I mean, some restaurants they might say, see, you got to be careful because there are some stores that will accept dollars, but they're gonna give you a bad exchange
Bad
rate.
exchange. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so
They're gonna
yeah,
tax you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Now, but so let's think about it this way. They may tax you, but are you still getting goods cheaper than in America? Technically, you know what I'm saying? Like, even though they may be overcharging you there, are you still paying less than you would in America?
Any No, because any goods that is imported from America is going to be more expensive in the Philippines or
Oh, really?
any other country in the world.
Wow.
Look, cars. Look, man, cars are very expensive here. Let's say a car that's $30,000 in the United States,
Yeah.
it'll cost $40,000 to $45,000 in the Philippines.
Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense because it's like the luxury cars, the foreign cars over here
Right,
have a higher price due to the, I'm sure, transportation. But at this point, I'll be honest with you. At this point, it don't really. It's there's really no reason for it. I think it just was a thing, people got used to it and now they accept it. But they're shipping that shit the same way they're shipping plastic fucking garbage cans that they sell at dollar stores for $2 or $1 or whatever. It's the same. It's coming the same way. So
right,
they got the volume to where they really don't have to charge that upcharge, but they do it because they can, and the money, people are conditioned to it.
right.
To be
Well,
honest.
see, now you just mentioned saying about volume, right?
Yeah.
Okay, when goods come to America, that's when the volume comes in,
Right.
right?
Right.
But when goods go to a third world country, the volume might be only 1% of
Uh,
what the volume would be in the United States. So that's why
gotcha.
the goods will be more expensive. Yeah,
Makes sense.
yeah.
Hello, Miss Baby Sister. You ringing in the new year with us in the space here. Feel free to grab a mic. We just chopping it up a little bit. Nothing too serious. Um, Chit chatting as usual. But yeah, thinking about transferring goods. Because again, I've had thoughts of, first it was Hawaii. That's really was like, oh man, I'm gonna move to Hawaii. I looked at jobs. I'm on the job boards. I'm looking at the apartments. It's kind of expensive over there. And then it's like,
Yeah.
boom, I have the accident. And I'm like, man, ain't no way I'm gonna move into Hawaii. It's so far away, different time zone. It'd be hard to get back and forth. So then I start thinking I gotta stay in the same time zone, but I do want to go south. I do want to be on an island. So I started thinking Caribbean island, even if it's just wintertime, which really is my plan. To be able to get out of these cold winters a couple months. And so I'm like, okay, well, yeah, the Caribbean. But then when I'm down, I'm like, man, you know what? Because when I went on those YouTube videos, you see people saying just like you said, a toothbrush is like $7 or whatever, just some ridiculous amount. And I was
Right.
like, there's probably a business where you would have a small cargo ship that you could load up with pallets of just just household
Oh, yeah.
items, and you could have a store on each island down there and try to set up a thing where you have a ship coming in once a week, big ship full of pallets, and you could distribute these products to your stores down there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Hey,
think.
look, I remember back in the early '90s when I was living in Australia. I noticed that Levi jeans were very expensive
Mm,
in Australia.
mm,
So when I went back to Virginia, I just bought like 100 pair of Levi jeans,
nice,
took it back to Sydney, and sold them for 5 times the price.
nice, nice. Yeah, that
You
was
know,
see,
it
that's genius, genius.
yeah, just little things like that, man. That's where I learned about traveling overseas. That man, there's so many goods in America, especially in the '90s, man. I mean, they want anything. But look, anything you got, America has this, has that. Can you buy that for me? I would, whatever you charge me, I'll pay it. It was incredible, man. So that's how I learned about branding is very important. And look at this, man. This is what I learned. The product can be made. The same product can be made in the Philippines or Australia or wherever, right? But do you know that if it's not made in America, they will not buy it, even though it's the same product and it's made in Australia or the Philippines. People do not trust.
Wow,
What I'm trying to say, people don't trust
wow,
when a American product is made somewhere else.
interesting.
And that I learned about that. That's why I say if Black Americans, right, can make a product in the Black American homeland, and they can sell it anywhere in the world, as long as we can have some kind of authenticity logo on the product that say made in the Black American homeland, or made in the South, or made in Mississippi, Alabama, wherever. As long as we have that, man, I'm telling you, man, we can sell anything to anywhere in the world.
Hmm, interesting. Yeah, I like that. Back in the day, I remember on official gear, it had to have a hologram sticker and all that. Back. I mean, that was back then.
Yeah,
Maybe
something like that. Yeah, yeah,
I'm thinking today you'd have like a code scanner or whatever. Most everybody can do that with their smartphones. But yeah, man, I like it. I like it. Just I
yeah,
think just saying "Made in America" would work because if America has the cachet or whatever, then
right.
I'd go along with that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, made in America will work great, but something that's very, what's that word? That's very exclusive to Black Americans, right? Of course, it has to be something like I don't know, like music, literature, um, any type. I think art, furniture. It can, it can. I think it can have a higher what do you call it, a value added, whatever they call it. Yeah, you can command a higher price if something of high value is coming from, you know but of course you have to be really good at promoting your products and all that. Using, that's why I think Black Americans having our celebrities, right? Because see, most countries don't have celebrities where,
Mm.
look, like good example, the only celebrity Philippines have is Manny Pacquiao. He's the only celebrity in the whole Philippines that they can like San Miguel beer, right? No, Pacquiao. He's promoting San Miguel beer, and people in Japan they will buy San Miguel beer because they like Pacquiao, you know. But that is the only person in the whole Philippines that will command international. Oh my gosh, international credibility to a Filipino product if it's Manny Pacquiao. He's the only person. But in America, man, we got who we got in America. You know, we got LeBron James. We got we got hundreds of basketball players, hundreds of actors, hundreds of musicians, hundreds of even a government person like our former president. I'm sorry, man. I can't think. I can't think of names sometimes. Our president, he can sell products to different countries. He can promote American-made products to different countries. So we have an advantage over most countries.
Man, you're probably not aware of well, let me address that. So, what I think our product is, because we're moving from, they're trying to shift from traditional gasoline, although I know they're not going to be able to get rid of it completely,
Right.
to electric, and then also hydrogen is really going to come on the market like really really big. I think if you can invest in hydrogen, if you have the capabilities, that's the
Yeah.
next wave, is hydrogen.
Right.
And
That's the blue water, right? Blue something.
like blue energy, probably, yeah.
Yeah, I think I heard something. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because basically when you combust hydrogen, you just produce water, so there's no
Right.
so-called no negative effects from it. Um
Right.
but yeah, so I think in terms of manufacturing, what you would want to do is start with small engines, work your way up
Mm-hmm.
to like mopeds, scooters, or ATVs, those types of vehicles, and then eventually motorcycles, which those kind of all are in the same product category, but you want to be able to get to cars, and that's
Mm-hmm.
that's to me where Black America as a region, state, whatever, however we get there, that's where our power will lie globally, is in producing, manufacturing, transportation.
Right.
Um,
I understand. I understand that, but this is what I'm trying to say. I get what you're saying, but what I'm trying to say is being American
that's full of shit.
and
Cody.
being from the North America, right? We can promote any product. It can be a product that only it costs 1 penny to make, and then we sell it for $10. Those people in other countries would buy it because it comes from America. That's all I'm saying.
Man, you know what, bro? I'm gonna tell you something.
And if it's made in Mexico, they won't buy it, or they'll put a lower value on a product, American made product that's made in Mexico. Their own people will do that. Now, of course, Americans will buy it because it's cheaper. Oh yeah, Americans will buy any goods and services made outside America, but
Let me
people in
send this
other
dude a mic.
countries they rather buy things from America that's made in America. Anything, T-shirts,
Mm,
Hanes underwear. Hanes underwear, Hanes T-shirts are very popular in the Philippines.
wow.
This little things like that.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I feel what you're saying. Um, yeah, I mean, that's cool. That's what's up. Cause I remember hearing stories of, I think, Japan that celebrates. Thanksgiving with like KFC chicken,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah, I heard about that.
you heard
Yeah.
about that? I'm not sure if it's China. It's either China or Japan where where Buick cars was like how we might look at Mercedes or Lexus. That's how they considered the Buicks over there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that's all good. So we know that we know how the spaces are. We know how to tweet and the comment and the back and forth, and like I've witnessed so many internal fights in these different groups and cliques. And even as we are winding down 2022, about to hit 2023, there's like fresh, like chum. If you know sharks and how they feed sharks, fresh chum in the water, where you get some active going. I mean, and I can in my off the top of my head, three groups actively have this chum in the water, blood in the water of people who 6 months ago, man, you thought they was going to die, ride or die for each other, man. And it's so crazy because I grew up in my teenage years in, I mean, and it was never a clique, it was just family, so like um outsiders might have thought of us as a clique, but it was just family. It was just all family, 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 brothers, cousins, whatever. And it was a thing where the loyalty was to our people, because that's our people, our family. And then but I witnessed that, in, because this is like basically street level situations. And you would see how people would get together, they'd be all ride or die, blah blah blah. And then a few weeks later, a few months later, they all like conflict, they fighting each other. um
Right.
so coming into Twitter initially with the account that got snatched, I see the conflict, and then people call it trolling, whatever. I just see all this animosity back and forth with each other, and I'm just like, okay, whatever, I'll navigate through this, no big deal. But when you started seeing these groups kind of formulate organizations, like, oh wow, I'm salute. I'm like, oh man, that's beautiful, that's lovely. I'm all for it. I appreciate it. And then to start watching them crumble, I'm just like, whoa. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Because
Yeah.
I remain neutral, and I've told every person who cared to have a conversation about the black majority states and this whole strategy, that I'll come talk to the people. I'll do whatever you want me as far as that goes. But I really can't be clicking up or joining organizations all like that, because the reality of it is there's no hierarchical structure. There's no system in place, especially for conflict among members, and even attempting to hold people accountable starts to look like you disrespecting this person or this, that, and the other. And I've seen so many people kind of fall away, and it's just, man, it's like, wow, wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow.
I find it really disturbing.
Phew.
Look, look, cooperation is very important, right?
Hmm.
That's the only way we can make it. We have to cooperate, right? But we have just little agreements, just little things can destroy a whole relationship.
Crazy.